Hello and welcome to a fresh episode of ETAuto's monthly series, The Month Gone By, where we discuss the top highlights, key insights, and the key happenings of the auto industry during the previous month. The month of February began busy with 3 days of Bharat Mobility Show. What happened, what progressed well ahead, we are here to discuss that with our industry expert, Mr. Arun Malhotra. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you, Shivagni.
So we have seen the auto industry clocking some good numbers in different segments for the month of February. So what do you have to say?
So I think auto industry has done very well. There was a lot of apprehensions that with after record numbers of December in January, February would go down. It hasn't gone down. And to me, the best indication is if you look at the share prices of the traded companies within the four wheelers, whether it's Mahindra, whether it's Tata, whether it's Maruti, or whether it's Bajaj, whether it's TVS Hero, they all are doing very well, which shows that the overall performance is good and the expectation in the future is also good. So overall, good sets of numbers, especially for two wheelers and passenger vehicles. Commercial vehicles could be a cause of concern.
Yeah. So passenger vehicles, we have seen, recording almost close to 4 lakh, 3.7 lakh for the month of February, and the retails were a little less. SUVs are anyway making up the demand here. So, how do you see the overall performance of the industry with the small car sales, SUVs, and what lies ahead probably in this sector?
So overall, the industry has done very well. I would say that even after the record numbers which you're having, even doing a figure of 3.72, and for all indications will be at 442.5 lakhs at the end of the year. It should be a growth of 8 to 9%. But I think the bigger part is that the ticket size or the average value has gone up by 8 to 10% this year. Obviously, small cars is a challenge, but it has been more than taken care from the upper end. And SUVs continue to drive strong. They are under 50% of the market, a lot of players, a lot of action, and a lot of excitement still happening. So passenger vehicles is on a strong footing, except the smaller cars, which I said is being taken care by the bigger cars as far as numbers are concerned.
So moving to the two-wheeler segment, like there was, all the segments have almost reached their peak or,
Mm.
surpassed their peak. But two-wheelers are still lagging behind. But we have seen the improvement happening in this sector. So the demand is probably driven by the premium segment. And we have seen some double-digit growth happening in the month of February. So, like, what is your viewpoint on that?
So two-wheelers clearly showing a recovery. And if you see February 2024 dispatches, which is in the region of 14.7, it is 35% higher than the February last year, although it's not the comparable figure. So it's growing well now at this point of time. Premium, there is more noise, but volumes are still coming from the more mass segment. Not at the entry level, at the mass segment. But overall volumes are picking up. And these figures exclude the electric two-wheelers. So I think a good set of numbers. If you continuously, it's been doing about 14 and a half to 15 lakhs. So the asking rate is coming somewhere to 20 million figure, which we used to talk of. So that is a good part of it. And I think it's done well. And I think the rural recovery is there as far as the two-wheeler is concerned, although it could have been much better. But I think there is more buoyancy, more expectation from the two-wheeler industry in times to come.
But if you have to define some growth drivers for two-wheelers, like per se, what do you like count that
See,
in?
growth drivers, basically two-wheelers is based on two, three key factors. One is rural income. Then is completely the middle class or the people who are the aspirational class who are going to offices, schools, colleges. Since everything is on, that's one segment. And third is good financing available, which is there. So elements are still there, good as far as concerned. Only the challenge which will be there and continues to be is the entry level price point, because now two wheelers start at something like 65, 70,000, which started 40,000 4 years back. So that hits the point of the real entry level market. But otherwise, if you exclude that point, it's on a good growth path. But having said that, it's nowhere near still that 21 million figure which we saw in the year 1819. That might take a year or two to reach it.
Yeah, but I think the positive signs are going good,
Positive
and
is very good. I think
yeah,
positives are good, and all two-wheeler companies are doing well.
yeah.
That's a very positive part of it.
Right. Also, sir, for specifically for the month of February, we have seen the commercial vehicle sales drop by a few thousands. So, what do you think? Like, how is the trajectory going to be? I mean, they were very close to reaching its, earlier peak. So, like, talking about the small commercial vehicles, heavy commercial vehicles, like, what are the growth drivers and what probably are the challenges here?
So commercial vehicles, I think the biggest challenge today is one is there is better utilization of vehicles. Then the norms which have come in, you can load more load in it, whether in terms of vehicles or whether in terms of load. So these are things, and then with the elections round the corner, there is always a slowdown due to that point of time. But having said that, we would have expected it should grow in double digit or 8 to 10%, which is not growing. And light commercial vehicles is still growing, but medium and heavy commercial vehicles is a challenge. Although we say there's a lot of infrastructure, a lot of other spends, but it is a challenge and it continues to be a challenge. And I think the last year, when we had this peak sales because we were changing on the norms and the price was going up, that base factor is weighing on the heavy commercial vehicles.
Yeah. So moving on, one important trend that has been going around in the industry has been electrification and alternative fuels. Like we have been talking about electrification a lot, but globally, during the last month itself, we have seen some signs, some surprising signs, like the tech giant, Apple, halting its,
Yeah.
the EV car project Titan. So the reports have been there that it has already halted it and it's no longer, working on the EV car project. And then the Mercedes, the CEO sharing it's, changing its roadmap for EVs. They earlier said that by 2030 they're going to have all the electrified vehicles, and now they have changed, like altered their stance. GM and Ford have talked about their production changing. Tesla has also warned that its, sales could be less than 2023. All these signs happening globally, and in India as well, we have seen, MG and Tata Motors, which is taking the lead, which is still taking the lead in EVs. They have slashed their prices and cut down on their prices. So looking at all these global and India scenario, like what is your take on the
So,
electric
you
vehicles?
highlighted all the major factors.
Is it still there what we had imagined, what we had, what we were looking at 2 3 years back, or is the stance a bit
I
changing?
think that level, what you said, and you quoted some incidents in both in the domestic market and international market, that buoyancy or the vibrancy or the expectation is not there. And this is also governed by two very basic reasons that the range and reach anxiety and the right price, still we're not able to crack it. And it is running on a lot on subsidies. Subsidies, whether in international market, the moment the subsidies you start slashing, then it gets impacted. And also certain changes in the government policies, because the way emission norms were being monitored and planned for 2030, there has been some deviation, I would say deviation, some sort of reduction in that. And so to that extent, the IC engine vehicles get a bigger time.
Hmm.
So EVs still on the growth path, but clearly there is a challenge. And then China producing much more than they can do, and they want to dump it to Europe, and Europe imposing duties. So clearly internationally, and even domestic, if we look at it, even two-wheelers, which we generally supposed to be the star of the EV revolution, is stuck on that 5.3% penetration, 5.7, 5.8. One is clearly that the subsidies are going down, and probably the FAME policy, which has not been on FAME 3, they expect it to go down further. And clearly, the other part is that we are not offering a full range as far as EV is concerned. There's nothing, no motorcycles. Even the scooter, the range is limited. So clearly, there is a challenge. And what one we tends to forget is we still have a low GST on two-wheelers, which is a major subsidy. So the idea was that in EV would be on a inflection point that it can compete on same to same terms. It is just not there. So these are, and if you look at passenger vehicles or you look at trucks, then there are other options available. We are talking of CNG, we are talking of hybrid, we are talking of flex fuels, and we are talking of hydrogen fuel. So clearly, EV, the way it was being driven and the way it was there, is a challenge area. And domestic market, it will grow. But we talked of 40% penetration in 4 years in three-wheelers, 70%, they are nowhere in our eyes. This year, we had talked of something like 8% penetration reaching for two-wheelers, just 5.5. And the three-wheeler is a different story altogether. Although it looks very high in number, but it's more a replacement of rickshaw. So it's a challenge area.
Right. The alternative fuels and the CNG that you mentioned,
Mm.
the CNG sales are growing due to specific factors here in the industry, and we have also seen some new hybrid models have come up. So their sales are also growing. Do you think that is going to be a significant part of, EVs not growing?
So, in the passenger vehicles, we have a rainbow coalition. Like we have the seven colors of the Vibgyor, we call violet, indigo, blue, red, orange. We have petrol, we have diesel, we have EV, we have hybrid, we have flex fuels, we have CNG. So, how different technologies behave. And if government starts adopting you can say a fuel agnostic approach, but more related to emissions or in petrol bills or diesel bills which are there, then probably there will be challenges. And two wheelers, sometimes the price point, the subsidies, if they can go, will go down, will be a challenge. And unless you attract or focus on the motorcycle market, which is two-thirds of the two-wheeler market, we have no virtual player, big player in that. It can't grow. So these are the challenges which will still remain. So it's a long way to go.
Right. So the two big, policy interventions that we have seen in the industry, one was the FAME and second was the Auto PLI scheme. So the Auto PLI, the PLI scheme that was, that 26,000 crore PLI scheme that was there in the industry, notified back in 2021. So it's expected, the money is expected to be disbursed next year. That's what we are hearing. But how do you see the progress of that?
See, PLIs is to improve your production. I won't say production efficiency, but produce your making India as a producer, and we are not dependent on other countries, and we become a global hub.
Yeah.
So it's not a very short-term strategy; it's more medium-term. But what you're saying is right. The progress has been very slow. Just to look at it, I mean, in 8 sectors beyond auto, money has been dispersed. Today, not a single rupee has been dispersed in the auto sector, and only about 4 or 5 companies have reached the stage of certification. And then from certification, you come to dispersal. But having said that, I think the government has realized it, and probably this year we will see much more. But this is not for a short-term thing. This is more for medium and long term. And even if we see good disbursement, good action happening in 2024-25, they'll be good for us for in 27-28. So let's not talk of PLI in short term. Short-term impact is the FAME scheme, the subsidy scheme, the GST scheme. This is more of building capability and capacity, which is a slightly longer journey, more like marathon race.
Right. It's probably going to impact the localization
Mm.
levels and where the
Absolutely,
companies are working
localization and
on.
more make in India, which is a good strategy, but
Yes.
it'll take time.
Right, right. Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for
Mm.
talking to ET Auto and giving us a glimpse of the month gone by. Thank you.
Thank you.